Oh, Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karuvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Nigatam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Deva Sadgurum Brahma Vidparam Sadgurum Brahma Vidparam. Om Bhaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Puranam Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshini Bhagavati Ashtadashadhyayani Ambavamanusandhami Bhagavad Gita. Last verse. Yam Brahma Varunendra Brahmaruta Stunvanti Divyai Stavai Vedai Sangapada Panishadai Gayanti Yam Samaka Dhyanavasthita Tatkatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyam Tam Navidu Surasura Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Om Shri Saraswati Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. You can share the book. You can move back with her. You have the book, right? I do. No, her. Does she have? Saroj, you have. You can sit next to her. Yeah. Oh, okay. So Hari Om. So we are in the end of the first chapter. We will try to finish the first. You can put the lights, please. We'll try to finish the first chapter today. As we have seen, Arjuna is in the middle of the, that's good, middle of the battlefield. Is this light? Yes, that's good. He's in the middle of battlefield. Bhagavan Sri Krishna has put it, and Arjuna, seeing all his friends, relatives, cousins, grandfather, gurus, gets confused that why I fight, and it will create, all the families will be destroyed. And he says that the Kauravas, they do not see that they are doing wrong, but we are, this war is wrong. So he's trying to justify, even though the Kauravas had stolen their kingdom, land, their wealth, even their wife, they had tried to molest and done all dishonest things. And when they were ruling, the country was going down, because when the ruler is crooked or corrupt, then the country goes down. And so Bhagavan wants to tell Arjuna, which he will more in the second chapter, that this war is not only between the family or for land or kingdom, but it is for dharma. Because dharma in India will only revive when the right rule is there. So it's not just for land, but it is for the whole country should be progressing in the right direction. And so then last week, Arjuna had said that if when this war happens, the men will die, there will be more women left, and then women will have no one to protect them, and they will just mingle, the society will mingle because there will be a imbalance. So when the whole society is destroyed, then there is, these people will just meet with anybody without any consideration of caste or culture or quality, and the whole morale of the society will go down. That's what he was trying to teach Bhagavan Sri Krishna, why we should not fight. But in reality, he was confused and deluded about the reason why this battle was. Battle was not for kingdom, but for the re-establishment of dharma. That's what Bhagavan Sri Krishna says. Whenever dharma goes down, I manifest. And he does, as Sri Rama, as Sri Krishna, as Narsimha, and various avatars of the Lord to protect the world. So Bhagavan him. So today we will start from number 42, chapter 1, number 42. Sankaro narakayaiva Kulajnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro hesham lupta pindodaka kriyaha. Together. Sankaro narakayaiva Kulagnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro hesham lupta pindodaka kriyaha. So he's telling Bhagwan, actually this whole chapter, he's trying to educate Bhagwan who is the Guru, the Lord of the universe. He keeps telling him newer and newer arguments of why he shouldn't fight. So here he says, when the caste intermingling happens, and we have no distinction between men and women, anybody is just meeting with anybody, mating with anybody, then society will get corrupted when there is so much destruction. But he doesn't realize that with the Kauravas ruling, this will happen anyway, when the evil is ruling. So there will not be society more protected, will go down. So in 42, he says, Sankaraha. Sankaraha means when the admixture of castes happen, what happens? Naraka yaiva. Who goes to Narak? Who goes to hell? Kulagnanam kulasyacha. The destroyers of the family, whoever destroys the family, goes to hell. And then what happens when the family is destroyed? Patanti pitaraha. Pitaraha means our ancestors, our have passed on. Patanti, they will perish, they will fall. Esham, because of this. Why? Because lukta pinda udaka kriyaha. So there is a shraddha, that we do for our ancestors who have passed on, and that is called pinda udaka kriya. Pinda means rice ball, udaka means water. So we offer rice ball and water to our ancestors on their death anniversary. So we call a panditji to do that. So that will also perish. So what does we mean by shraddha? We'll talk about. So as we said, when there is admixture, uh, not only in caste, but also like in races, in nationalities, as we see now, it is happening in the US, a melting pot. But when people of different religion, different nationality, different culture meet, then whose religion should we follow? Whether we follow Hinduism or Christianity? Whose language should we speak? Whose culture should we? Food, clothing. So everything then declines because they say, oh, I neither want them to go to church, and once I don't want them to go to temple. So the religion, all the traditions, everything perish when this kind of thing happens. And even the values, as we have seen, when there is no morality, when there is no, uh, you know, honor and no following of the traditions, because we have so many traditions passed on from ancestors to us, and those traditions also will perish, the values that have been passed on to us. Again, because whose culture do you want to follow? Whose values? Because each culture values different things. Some are common, of course, honesty, truth, justice. But then there are certain that are practiced by specific people. And when there is no uh, distinction, then what are the moral values we will, I mean, there is no control. There are so many women, few men, so there is, all this imbalance, and the values, all the good qualities that we have practiced will perish. And one of them, the Arjuna mentions, is the shraddha. What is the shraddha? As we know, on the death anniversary, people call a pandit, and to their ancestors who have departed, they offer rice ball, water, and that, and then the Panditji is fed. And it is said that with all the mantras and rituals, and it is said that the ancestors get that. How can they get that? So one explanation I had heard is that the ancestors are in the subtle astral planes. There is a Pitruloka. So the part of the food, part of it is the gross food, whether it's rice, water, vegetables, bread, chapati, whatever you offer. But also food has a subtle aspect, which is not gross, but which is the subtle aspect, which is not visible to us, but that, sorry, I will shut it off. So that subtle aspect of the food, that the food that is offered has a subtle aspect that we cannot see. It's like, say, the fragrance. Can you see the fragrance of the food? No, you can't. So, so same way, there is a certain subtle aspect of the food, and that subtle aspect of the food goes to the subtle planes, the astral planes, and nourishes our ancestors. So that is mentioned. Then some others say, well, the ancestors come and sit in the body of the priest, and when the priest is fed, they are fed. So there are different theories, but the fact is that even if food, okay, if you don't believe it or not, but this way at least we are honoring our ancestors, we are remembering them, all the culture they have passed on to us, the values, how they took care of us, how they nourished us, and all the lineage, the family lineage that has come down. We pass that, and that we have to pass on to our children. So it is a way of remembering the ancestors. Also, a lot of people on the Shraddha day will do charity in the name of the ancestors. So that may the punya of this go to my ancestors. I don't need the punya, so they will feed the people, or they will do a lot of good work, charity. So this is a way of passing on our traditions and respecting and honoring our ancestors. So Arjuna is saying, when the society is destroyed, then this will also perish. And then he says that we will be living in hell. What do we mean by living in hell? Or we will go to hell. We will not only be living in hell, but we will go to hell. So this reminds me of a story. Swami Chinmayananda Puja Gurudev was one time, after the talk, after dinner, he was sitting with some of his devotees, and they were just being in his presence, talking, maybe asking him some questions. So one man rushed into that house and just fell at Swamiji's feet. And he said, Swamiji, save me, please save me. So Swamiji said, what happened? Why should I save you? He said, save me from hell. save me from hell. So Swamiji Gurudev said, what do you mean save you from hell? He says, I have lived a terrible life. I'm very rich, but I have been very corrupt, very dishonest. All the money I made was from cheating people and doing black market and all that. And I am afraid that after death I will go to hell. And he's weeping and scared and crying. After death, I'm afraid I will go to hell. So please save me from hell. So Gurudev says, what's saving you? You are already living in hell. When you have this idea that this is how I have lived my life, and when you are suffering and you are fearful, you are already in hell. So I don't need to save. So the point is that hell can be that whatever we do in this life, if we have done wrong things and we are afraid, then that is living in hell. And then also, as they believe that after death, if you have done certain karmas for which you have not received the punishment, then you go to hell in subsequent lives, and then your next life will be a lower quality life. You may be born as an animal or a bird or a lower status. So that is hell. So that is, he says that we will be living in hell. Then he goes on to the number 43. दोषैरेतैकुलज्ञानाम् वर्णसङ्करकारकैः उत्साद्यन्ते जातिधर्माः कुलधर्माश्च शाश्वताः. Together, दोषैरेतैकुलज्ञानाम् वर्णसङ्करकारकैः उत्साद्यन्ते जातिधर्माः कुलधर्माश्च शाश्वताः. So now, when this evil happens, that the society is perishing, values are going down, ancestors are not honored, and everybody is just mingling with anybody, then with this evil, the society kula will be destroyed. The family will be destroyed. And what jati dharma, our jati, our caste, our community, whatever dharmas, whatever the dharmas of our community, our society will also perish. Not only that, but the kula dharma, shashvata. Kula means the entire dynasty, entire family, entire community. It's shashvata, ancient, even the dharmas, the religious practices will perish. We'll talk about what is dharma. So he says, the society will perish, the family will perish, the society will perish, community will perish, whole nation will perish, and our ancient traditions will also be destroyed. So he's trying to tell Bhagavan what will happen. So let us see what is jati dharma. First, what is the word dharma mean? Dharma, dharyate iti dharma, that which upholds the society. The society is upheld because of dharma. If everybody was practicing a dharma, society would collapse. Like the traffic is moving because people are following traffic rules. If everybody goes at their own speed, own direction, nobody stops at red lights, it will be a chaos. It won't be, So same way the community is mentioned because people are following dharma, right conduct, right belief, what our ancestors have told us. So jati means the community. So each community has certain traditions, certain rules, which we talked about earlier, and they will perish when people are not following the individual dharma, their family dharma, and the society will perish. The dharma is not only that, but also in science, engineering, as we know, our our ancestors, they had complete, in Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, and all, you can see even thousands of years ago, they had perfect drainage system, they had planes, they had all kind of weapons, science, technology, even medicine was developed, surgery was being done. So all those things were being done by our ancestors. But when all the invaders came and they destroyed our buildings, our culture, they killed the people, all the scholars, the priests were killed, the religious books were burned, and even our libraries. They said one of the library, Nalanda library, was so big that when the Muslims set fire to it, the fire lasted for several days. The books, that many, and they all were destroyed. So traditions can be destroyed. Even so, after that, then science and technology, India fell behind, and then now we are coming back up. So when the society is perishing, then there is destruction. Destruction, not only physical destruction of the people, the buildings, the structures, the books, but also mental destruction. People's mind get disturbed. There is disunity among community. There is violence. There is wrong thoughts. If somebody has been badly treated, then he wants to fight back. So the whole society, he says, will perish when this happens. And that is true, but main thing was that the society was already going down, headed on that path, which he did not. So that's what he's saying. Our ancient dharmas that we have inherited from our ancestors will perish. And that happens with war. So that's what Arjuna is saying. And now 44, he continues teaching Bhagwan. उत्सन्नकुल्मधर्माणाम् मनुष्याणां जनार्दन नरके नियतं वासः भवत् भवतीत्यनुशुश्रुमा उत्सन्नकुलधर्माणां मनुष्याणां जनार्दन नरके नियतं वासः bhavatityanushushruма. So he says anushushruma. We have heard bhavati. What happens? Bhavati means happens. What happens? Utsanna kula dharmanam. When the dharmas of the kula, of the family, of the society are destroyed, manushyanam, of all beings, of all human beings, that means the whole culture is destroyed, then what happens? Oh, Janardana, this is another of Bhagwan Sri Krishna's name, Jana Ardana, the one who, one is that Jana Ardana, one who, Ardana means the sorrows. So Jana Ardana means one who removes sorrows of the good people and gives sorrows to the evil people. That is Jana Ardana. So does not mean that he gives particular sorrows to particular people. It's their own karmas, because Bhagavan is the karma phaladata. Whatever karmas we have done, we get the result. So it's not that he's favoring some other or harming some. He just says, okay, you have done good karmas, you will be blessed. You have done evil karmas, wrong things, you have hurt somebody, you will be punished by your own actions. That's why Gurudev says, we are punished not for our sins, but by our sins. One who says, I got punished for my sin. No, your sin, by your sin itself, has the seed of punishment if you have done sin. And if you have done good, then the sin itself will bless you. I mean, the action, the good action will bless you, or the sinful action will punish you. So that's what he says. And Narke niyatam vasa. We will be living in the naraka for long time. Niyatam means for indefinite time, long time. Vasaha, we will be living. Bhavati, it happens. O Janardana, O Krishna, we have heard. So what is hell and what is this karma? They say karma phala, that when you do an action, you get the result. Now, there is two kind of phala, drishta phala and adrishta phala. Of any action, there is a visible drishta, visible result, or invisible result, what you cannot see. So, what do we mean by that? Say you put your hand in the plug, immediately you will get a shock. So that is visible result. It happened right away. Or you put your hand in fire. Or if you plant a mango tree, you plant a seed, put a mango seed, and then take care of it, nourish it, feed it, give it fertilizer. Soon it will grow. In 5 or 10 years, you will have a beautiful tree giving you sweet mangoes every year. So that is drishta phala. That is the fruit that we see. Now, what is adrishta phalam of that? Adrishta phalam is, say, of that mango tree now, the mangoes I distribute to people, I give it away. And then the people enjoy, and then they thank me and they bless me, for being so kind, so nice. Now, that is some extent drishta, but also their mental, thanks, their mental gratitude is a adrishta phalam. I don't see it, but mentally they express. Adrishta phalam also means what happens after death. Say, I have been done a lot of charity, done a lot of good work, I have helped others. Then such a person, his mind becomes purified. When I have done charity, when I have done puja, goodness, done good deeds. And with that pure mind, when I sit for puja or meditation, my mind connects with Lord. Now that others cannot see, that I have purification of mind or my mind is quiet and I'm in meditation and able to collect. So that is adrishta phalam. That is not visible to others. They might say, oh, this guy, I don't see any change and he has been attending Gita lectures or studying or going to temple. But the internal transformation that happens, that is not visible to others. So that is adrishta phalam. Adrishta phalam is also what happens after death. We don't know what I don't know what my life is going to be after death, where I will go, what worlds I will be going in, whether in the seven heavens or the hells, or and then what life will I have next birth? How will my life be? Will I be born as a mosquito or a buffalo or a what or a bird, snake, or maybe I may be born as a advanced human being, or maybe even born as a devata. A lot of the devatas who are there, Varuna, Indra, and Vayu Devta, Agni Devta, the gods in heaven are human beings who have done very good karmas, and so they have progressed to that status of devatas. So maybe I may get that. Or the highest is that even heaven and devatas are not uh, enough. Maybe I may attain enlightenment. Maybe I might become one with God if I have done enough study, meditation. So those adrishta phalam that we cannot see and we do not know, that also happens when this when people follow this dharma, do the right thing. And the same time, if you do bad things, then same way you will be, miserable this life. You will be fearful. Then you will probably go to hell, and then your next life will be a lower yoni, lower species. So that is adrishtaphala. We don't know where we will be. Also, it says that in our life we have to maintain purity, purity of our body, purity of our mind, purity of our emotions, our thoughts, and reduce anger, greed, jealousy, conflict. So when that is reduced, then the mind becomes pure. And then with such a pure mind, you can relate better to people, you can connect to God. They say to connect to God, you have to purify your mind. If your mind is full of dirt, you won't feel his presence. If you want to feel the presence of God, you have to purify your mind. And those who don't do that, then for them, narake, as we said, they have hellish existence. They're living in hell in this life and in future life. So narake aniyatam vasa, the indefinite period, as you said, many, many years, you could be happy if you're doing good, or you could be miserable. So that, and then again, the subsequent life, the next birth, your life will be hellish. And this family structure is very important, because just as a brick, one individual brick, the wall is made of thousands of bricks, but each brick is important to hold wall. If one brick falls, then it will get weakened, or second. So same way, family is the unit of society. Each family together makes the whole of society. So just as when the bricks become weaker, the wall becomes weaker. So same way, when the family is not following these functions, not doing pure actions, purity is not there, honesty is not there, truthful is not there. When the family is decaying, then the whole society decays, because each family together, put together, makes the entire society. And so they say that the purification should start at the family level, and then I should first work to purify myself, my mind, then make my family atmosphere better, and then contribute to society, because society is all one. They are all that one consciousness, one God appearing as many. So contribution should not only be in 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 uh, in my house. People say, as long as me, myself, and family are fine. No, we have to contribute. We have to give to society. We have to spread this knowledge. We have to encourage, and then also when we vote for the right candidates who will make society better, and generally support institutions that are doing good work, making the society better, uh, and help the people. So if I'm serving, if I'm sharing, I'm giving help to the poor and the homeless and all that, then whole society improves. So that's why they say, now there is a board I was watching on driving on Rosedale Highway. They have a picture of Nelson Mandela, and they said, what can one individual do? People think, I'm what can I do? He said, look at Nelson Mandela, one individual, and he shook the whole South African empire. I mean, the whites were so firmly in command of that. One individual, when he decided to not follow and resist, he awakened the whole black community of South Africa, and won freedom for them. And apartheid was all this discrimination, and he was put in jail for so many years. The people who have gone to South Africa, they have his jail, where he was on jail for like more than 20 years, and horrible conditions and all. He didn't care, and he kept on fighting. So one individual decides that I am not going to tolerate what is happening, he can change whole of society. So that's why each one of us should think that maybe I cannot become Nelson Mandela or John F. Kennedy or Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King, but in my own community, in my own society, in my own family, I can spread these values, these ideas. And if I make my community better, my society, but at least that much I have improved. Gurudev, you say, not all of us can be like the sun, but we can be like a lamp. The sun illumines the whole universe. I cannot illumine the whole universe, but just as a lamp can illumine one part, one room, so similarly, I can be a lamp where I can illumine. So that is what they are saying, that is what will happen. When the family is nourished, it gets better. When it is neglected, it goes down. So it is up to each one of us how we want to live our life based on the message of the Bhagavad Gita. So whenever I have a doubt, whenever I have a question, whenever I have a problem, I should look at the Bhagavad Gita, study the Bhagavad Gita. What would Bhagavan Krishna do? What is his advice? So if we actually if you have studied the Gita, which we will be doing over the, which this is the third time we are covering the Bhagavad Gita. But the answer of every problem, any of life's doubts or problems is there. There is no problem that is not resolved. Because Bhagwan, of course, was the infinite Brahman manifesting in human form. So his teachings are infinite and they are immortal. That's why Bhagavad Gita was composed more than 5,000 years ago, was revealed by Bhagwan to Arjun. Lots of commentaries have been written in all different languages of the world, but Bhagavad Gita is as relevant today as it was then. So that's why we should study the scriptures and then other scriptures also, but here we are studying Bhagavad Gita. So that is shloka number 44. Now Arjuna is getting worse and worse. He's getting more and more deluded, more and more confused, and getting almost disheartened. We can see that he is realizing that with my own thinking, I am not able to function. My mind is deteriorating. Already in the beginning, he had said that my limbs are trembling and my hand is shivering. I cannot hold my bow and arrow. And now, even mentally, he is totally falling apart. So we'll do shloka number 45. Aho पापम् कर्तुं व्यवसिता वयम् यद् राज्यसुखलोभेन हन्तुं स्वजनमुद्यतः अहो बत महत्पापम् कर्तुं व्यवसिता वयम् यत् राज्यसुखलोभेन हन्तुं स्वजनम् उद्यताः. Aho but, oh alas, he's getting so now. Mahat papam, great sin, kartum, to do, vyavasita, we are ready to commit a great sin, vayam, by fighting the war. But what Bhagavan is saying, we'll tell him in the same chapter, by not fighting the war, you are committing a sin. Because when some evil is there, if you can eradicate and you don't do it, that is a sin. It is like we said last time also, a judge is there to, judge people. There is a criminal who has committed a lot of crimes. And he says, oh, I want to be non-violent. I'm a follower of Mahatma Gandhi. I'm going to let him go. That is wrong. A criminal has to be punished, has to be put in jail 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever he deserves. So sometimes violence is necessary. If he has committed many murders, even a death penalty, maybe whatever the law mentions as the punishment, the judge has to do it. Not following the law is also a sin. Here he says we are about to commit sin, but Bhagavan says by not fighting, you are committing a sin. And that he says, Yat Rajya Sukha Lobhena, with lobha, with greed for the kingdom, Antum Swajanam Udyataha, we are ready to kill our near and dear ones for the sake of a kingdom. So actually, even if Arjuna doesn't kill, the Kauravas will kill them. If Pandavas don't fight and they drop their weapons, you think the Kauravas will let them go? No, they are ready to fight and they will kill. And what he's doing is he has heard the scriptures, but he is misinterpreting. Whatever the knowledge he has heard from the scripture, he is misinterpreting and giving a wrong interpretation of this knowledge. The right knowledge he has studied Upanishads, all the scriptures, and but he is misinterpreting and misusing the knowledge. So the knowledge can be used rightly or can be used wrongly. That's why we find some leaders also, they will use the scriptures, but then they will take selected parts and then say, I have been appointed by God to do this and that. So they will misuse the right knowledge. The knowledge is good, but they will misrepresent it and show it to people and mislead the people. Even sometimes people who claim to be religious leaders mislead the people, unfortunately. Talking about misusing the right knowledge, having the right knowledge, but misusing it reminds me of a story. So there was this couple who were having dinner in a fancy restaurant in New York, in Manhattan, in a nice restaurant they were sitting. And the wife sees that on the next table there is a woman sitting alone. I guess she was waiting for her friend to come, or a dinner companion to come. She was sitting alone and she was wearing the most gorgeous shoes, beautiful shoes. So she says, "Honey, let me go ask the lady where she bought those shoes." So he says, "Why would you want to tire yourself? Sit down. I'll do it for you. Don't worry. I'll find out. You sit, you relax." So she said, "Oh, thank you, honey. You're so nice." So he goes and asks the lady. He says, "Ma'am, I'm sorry to bother you, but my wife really likes your shoes. Can you tell me where you bought them?" So this was in Manhattan. So she says, "Oh, just round the corner. You go block, turn right. In 2 minutes, you will be there. I just bought them. So he says, "Okay, how much did the shoes cost?" So she says, "The shoes cost $500. So he goes back to his wife. So she says, "Where did she buy them?" "Oh, she bought them in Los Angeles." so, so he has the right knowledge, but he's misusing misusing the knowledge. So same way, Arjuna has the right knowledge, but he's misusing it. He's getting wrong information. And actually, Arjuna was the one who was most in favor of the war. Before the war started, he had realized, and for 12 years he had been practicing in the forest how to shoot. And there was one time when Yudhishthir, even the oldest brother, was doubtful. He says, because he was a very peace-loving Dharmaraja, very honest person. And he says, this is going to happen, and our army is so much smaller. They have more power, they have more weapons. And, I'm so afraid what will happen with this war. So Arjuna told him, "Brother, don't worry. I am with you, and all our warriors are with you. And we have the goodness on our side. We have honor on our side." This was before he came to the battlefield. And he actually was encouraging his oldest brother Yudhishthir that this war we have to fight. It is something that is our dharma, not doing it. So he had been teaching others that we should fight. And now, when suddenly he is faced, all these doubts come, all these wrong ideas come. So, what we have to understand that when I only think of me, myself, and I, that I am fighting for them, then that makes me selfish, that I am fighting for. And when you're selfish, then you become weak, because when you are only thinking of yourself, you don't join others. But if you are unselfish, working for society, all people will work with you, you become stronger. So here we see that he's becoming weaker when he's thinking that this battle is for me, myself, my family, my kingdom. It's not for me. It is for the totality, for the whole country, because the whole India was supposed to benefit from this, from if the Pandavas had won. So so for him to think that just I'm fighting for myself is selfish. One has to make our mind unselfish, make our mind for the benefit of all, and help others. So that is called papam, that not doing what your duty is papam. Doing, like, it's like a soldier, as we talked last time also. Soldier has been trained from youth, little from young age, to how to become a good soldier. He's taught how to shoot weapons, guns, and all that. and then suddenly the enemy attacks and your country is in danger, and then the soldier says, oh, I am peace loving, I won't fight, I'll surrender my weapon. The society has nourished you, fed you. So same Arjuna from childhood was trained to be a warrior, and now when the country needs him, he is collapsing. So that is what is happening. Now we will go to number 46. This is the last shloka of Arjuna, where he is finished giving advice to Bhagavan. So he says, Yadi, so he will chant number 46. Yadi mama pratikaram ashastram shastrapanayah dhartarashtrarane hanyuhu tanme kshemataram bhavet yadi mama pratikaram ashastram shastrapanayah dhartarashtrarane hanyuhu tanme kshemataram bhavet. So now his condition is so bad, he is collapsed. He is gone. In 46, he says, Yadi, in case mam apratikara means unresisting, and ashastram. So I will sit, I will not resist. I will sit here, drop my weapons. And what will the enemy do? Shastra panayaha, with weapons in their hand, who dhartarashtra. Dhartarashtra, Dhritarashtra children, what will they do? They will come and cut off your head, cut off your neck. Why? Because you are sitting without weapons, just surrendering and telling them, do what you wish. That's what they want. They want Arjuna to die because that's what will make them strong. So he says, doesn't matter. Even if they kill me, that is tanme kshemataram for me than to fight this war. So how he has collapsed from being the greatest warrior, now he is sitting like a coward, come and cut my head off. So he has collapsed. But the point is that even he doesn't fight. He leaves the battle, goes to the forest. Other Pandavas, brothers, their armies are there, all the other kings are there, they're all assembled. They are not going to run away. So war momentum is already started. Both the armies are there. Even if he individually goes, yeah, Pandavas will lose, but they are not. Nobody, others are not going to run away. So to think, if he thinks that by his own surrender he can stop this war, it's not going to happen. And ultimately, all battles are fought within. Battles are inner. If your mind is weak, then your body will be weak. And then you will have no patience, you will have no goodness, no kindness. So every battle is fought within, not fought outside. Outside is even today's saying, actually, on the board. What is in the Gita class somehow appears on the board, and it is Gurudev says, conquer the world, you must conquer your mind. If you conquer your mind, then only you can deal with the world. If mind is weak, then you will collapse. Like Arjuna, not able to do your duty. So it says, Guru Nanak used to say, Jite Jajit. If you conquer your mind, you have conquered the world. And Arjuna is failing. We'll do the last shloka today, and then we'll do Sankalpa Vakya, the last saying of which comes after every chapter. So number 47, Sanjaya Uvacha Eva Muktvarjana Sankhye Tathopastha Upavishat Visridham Samsharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasaha Sanjaya Uvacha Eva Muktvarjuna Sankhye Sankhye Rathopastha Upavishat Visrijam Samsharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasaha. So Sanjay is now describing what happened to Arjuna. Eva Muktva, having said in this way, Arjuna Sankhye in the battlefield, Rathopastha on the seat of his chariot, Upajata. He sat down. These warriors, they stand up on the chariot with their bow and arrow. He just down. His legs cannot hold him. And what does he do? And he drops his samsharam, chapas, and bow, his main weapon, which he used to Gandiva, which he always kept with him. So his bow and arrows, some and his mind is drowning in his mind is so weak. So here we see that he has complete delusion, has complete confusion. He doesn't know what his purpose in life, and he's ready to give up. And he says, I cannot do what is my duty. I cannot do what I'm supposed to do. I just surrender. So there was a great saint in India called Swami Ramdas, not the Samartha Ramdas of Shivaji. He was very great too, but this was a sage who was born in 1884 and he lived till 1960. So he lived about 70 plus years. Swami Ramdas, very great saint, very knowledgeable, very learned, and spread this message throughout India. So one of his famous saying was that our greatest enemy is our mind. If your mind is with you, you can overcome the world and you can do whatever. And a true hero is one who has mind, control his mind and put his mind in the right direction. And how can he do that? One is by being these views. Second is one where there is one God, one consciousness everywhere. So such a person will have spontaneous love, compassion, for all, patience with all, and his own mind will always be constantly in the remembrance of the divine. As we have talked even in our meditation class today, that from time to time, they stop and throughout the day try to become aware that you see the whole world, that is all God's manifestation. Then in your mind, visualize your Ishta Devta, whether Bhagwan Sri Krishna or Lord Shiva or Sri Rama or Durga, and visualize and offer salutations. And then see God not only outside, but God within as the principle, as the consciousness. So constant being aware of God's presence, that's what Swami Ramji does. That that is the way to progress in life. And so that is, but for that we have to change the direction of our mind, the direction of our thoughts, because as our thoughts, so will be our actions. So if I make my mind pure, if I make my mind honest and sincere, my actions will be pure and sincere. So that is what we have in the 47th shloka, that Arjuna, is overwhelmed with sorrow. His weapons are drowned. He, you know, totally despondent, totally given up. What is my purpose in life? Why did I come on this earth? He came to establish dharma. His teaching was to use his weapons for goodness. And now when it's time to do that, he is falling, he's given up. So here we will end the first chapter. Next week, we will start second chapter, where the first few shlokas are again a conversation between Bhagwan and Arjuna. And then from the 11th, Bhagwan starts his teaching. And that's when maybe next week or two, we will see how Arjuna's arguments continue and how Bhagwan is starting his treatment. How Bhagwan starts the treatment starts from the second shloka itself, and how the Krishna treatment for Arjuna, we'll see that. So we'll end with the what is called as Sankalpa Vakya. this was these at the end of each chapter they have this saying, a little brief line, Vakya, which was composed by Madhusudan Saraswati ji, a great sage and saint and scholar. And at the end of each chapter, they placed it. And why did they do it? We'll talk about. Let us just chant. Om Tat Saditi. You can repeat up. Om Tat Saditi. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishnarjuna Samvade Arjuna Vishada Yogo Nama Prathamodhyaya. See, nowadays we have printed books, so they say chapter 1 and they mark it. But in the olden days, there was no printing. So how did, like, people used to memorize thousands of shlokas, thousands, and they would memorize whole books and whole entire Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, all that, all in their head. So how does the teacher tell the student that a chapter has finished? Okay, first chapter is finished and second chapter to start. So in the Upanishad, what they do is they will repeat that last shloka or a line of the last shloka or a quarter of the last shloka. They will repeat. That means it is now chapter is over. We go to the next chapter. Here, and what they do is they put this sankalpa vakya. When it comes, then people know first chapter is over. So Om is the cosmic supreme consciousness, is the vibrational sound. Om is the one that vibrates in the cosmos. So that is God's manifestation. That means that supreme Lord whom we worship, who is all over. And Sat means that which is existence, which is here. So the chair, the table, the computer, glass, everything exists. So that existence, which is God, and you and I also exist. So all of us are manifestation of that one existence, Sat. Iti, in this way, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, so the exalted, the great, the most respected Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita, which is revealed by Bhagavan Sri Krishna, and Upanishatsu, and it is a Upanishad. Upanishad means it is not an individual Upanishad, but the entire Bhagavad Gita is a summary of all the Upanishads, all the highest knowledge of the Upanishads. Bhagavan has made it simple. Upanishads were revealed, by gurus to very advanced seekers, and they need sometimes, little difficult to study. We are doing Upanishad class every Tuesday, 12:30 to 1:30. And if anybody wishes to log in, we can let you know. But this Bhagavad Gita is the simplification of the Upanishad. Bhagavan has made it simple for us to understand. It is Brahma Vidya, and it is that supreme highest knowledge of all the Upanishads and all the teachings, which has crystallized, made it simple for us in these 700 verses. It is not only the knowledge, but Yoga Shastre. Yoga means to unite. So how this knowledge will unite me with God, and what are the practical sadhanas I do to reach that highest. So it's not only the theory, but it is also the practice, how to practice this Bhagavad Gita, how to practice to make my life better, what sadhana should I do, what prayer. So all that is explained to unite me to God. And who were the one? Sri Krishna and Arjuna, as we can see behind us, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the Lord, Supreme Lord himself, and Arjuna, the ordinary human being like you and me, like us. We are also often confused. What is my duty? What is my purpose? So Arjuna was also confused. So Samvada. Vivada means argument. Samvada means dialogue to learn the truth. So there is difference between vivada. In Hindi they say vivada is an argument. Samvada is that when two people meet to learn the highest truth. And so Bhagwan is here with Arjuna teaching him. And it is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Arjuna Vishad. How can Arjuna's grief become a yoga? There is Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and all these other yogas. How can Arjuna's grief also become a yoga? How can it become a teaching? Because so far Bhagwan has not taught at all. He will teach from the second chapter. But Gurudev says that only when our mind is in grief, in sorrow, when I don't know what to do, then only I turn to the teacher, to the guru. Otherwise, I'd say my life is going fine. Why should I worry? But the moment I have grief, I have sorrow, then I go crying to the temple. Oh, Bhagwan, save me. I am suffering. I am miserable. So here also, Arjuna, when he gets deluded, when he gets grief, when he gets sorrow, then we will see in the second chapter, he will surrender to Bhagwan. Shishasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. I am your disciple and you save me. Until the whole of the first chapter, he was giving lecture to Bhagwan, how to live the life. But now he realizes that his thinking is collapsed and he's turning towards God. So that is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga Nama. So the name of this first chapter is Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the yoga of Arjuna's grief. And Prathama Adhyaya, the first chapter is here finished. So we have finished the first chapter, and from next week we will start the second chapter where all the teachings of Bhagavad Gita are. Bhagwan will go in detail. First, he will address Arjuna's arguments and then give us the highest knowledge. Actually, it's opposite. He first gives the highest knowledge and then he will address Arjuna's argument. So it is a very differently. People start from simple and go to the highest. Bhagwan first away gives the highest knowledge. So we'll do that next week. The second chapter. We have a few minutes, 7, 8 minutes. If anybody has any questions, comments, anything is not clear, or anything you would like to add, please feel free, either in the room or on Zoom.
Are
yeah.
People watching on Zoom? Too?
Yes. Oh, we have about 15, 20 people on Zoom. Yeah, some couples also. Some couples, yeah. Yes.
So, Dr. Mehta, like when you were talking about, your learning and your...
Can they hear it on Zoom? Okay, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. Like learning and the values happen in the home. I would like to know when confrontation happens, like addressing, as a person, it's a right thing to do. And then you explain it to the next person within the family and they don't catch on or they don't want to do it. How do we go about that? Because I don't remember what lecture, but it's like, if you don't stand up for what's right, that's wrong.
Right. So I think, again, each situation has to be individualized. First of all, what is the reason for the conflict? One has to analyze in our mind. Am I understanding the other person's point of view or not? Maybe the other person may have some valid point. So first I understand that, okay, then I'm convinced, okay, mine is right and the other person is wrong. But then not having a superior attitude that I know what is good and you don't, then that is the sure way to antagonize the person. So you understand that point of view, talk to that person and say, okay, I understand where you are coming from. You have some valid points, but this is where I think this argument can go in the right direction. This is better for our do like this for our personal relationships. So you can start by accepting the other person's point of view and adopting his thinking about his opinion, and then giving him in a non-confrontational or non-judgmental way that I am right, you are wrong, I am good, you are bad. That let us see how together we can come to a mutual agreement, to make this situation better. You have some opinions, I have. So you do a mutual and then try to convince that person that this is right and that is wrong. But if the person insists and doesn't listen and keeps doing the wrong thing, if you can discipline that, say it's your child, you can discipline him, then you discipline. But if it's, say, a parent or a spouse or a neighbor or some uncle, or if you can't discipline, then you just pray for him. Okay, he's doing the wrong thing, let him do it. But one should not become a doormat that you can resist, but sometimes you may not be able to resist. The other person may have more power over you, maybe it's your boss at work, and if you don't resist, if you resist, you may lose your job. So then you just accept it. Okay, this is how I am, this is my, whether it's my family situation, work situation, society. Society now, so many negative things are happening, we cannot influence everything. We say, oh, he should do like that and she should do like that and this leader is wrong. Tell Bhagwan, ye teri dunya hai, tu sambhal. It is your world. I cannot change, what Biden is doing, what Trump is doing, what I cannot change all those. Not, they say it's not my cup of tea, my field. I can take care of my family, the rest let him worry. So instead of worrying
What
about.
do you want to build on that? I have a hard time in my situation, but if you have difficulty accepting, how do you come to accept?
So Eckhart Tolle says it very beautifully. There are three options. You have a problem with a relationship. You can change the situation. You can't change. You can move away from the situation. It's a job, you can resign. But say you cannot leave that job, that spouse, whatever. So I cannot change it. I cannot move away from it. Then the third is I accept it 100% without any inner resistance. If I am saying, oh, I have to put up with this person to live with him or with him, then you say, this is how I am. As long as I know I am fine, I accept it totally. So then that whole situation, when you accept it without complaint 100%, then that situation automatically, your mind internally is not disturbed. Otherwise, if you accept it unwillingly, you're staying, then your mind will be constantly disturbed. And as long as mindful, that is what you do with unpleasant situations. Make your mind at peace.
Yeah. So, Swami Aparajitananda said, he said, use sandwich out. So there are two pieces, right. The main picture inside.
Right.
So he says, you first you praise the individual. That's the first bread. You praise them.
Right.
And you praise them, they're already thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you actually tell them what you want to tell them, whatever your point of view is. And then at the end, you put the second bread them again.
That's very good. That's very good. Did everybody on Zoom hear it? Anyway, that's very good. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, but praise always is much more flies with honey than with vinegar. With sweetness, you can attract people. That's a very good point. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? We have 1 minute exactly. Nobody on Zoom? Okay, we'll do the closing. As far as upcoming, there is Mahashivratri, but that is on March 10th. I don't think there is any, before that, any activities happening. And then March 7th, Parents' Day. So those days you can, if your children are attending Bal Viharam, they're practicing. So anyway, we'll see you next day. We do have lunch. People can stay for lunch. Will join us. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha. Sarve santu niramayaha. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om asato ma satgamaya. Taso ma jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Guru Namah. Harihi Om. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining on Zoom and in person. See you next week. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you.